Your question instead.
Hello, councillors. Concerning agenda item 5 on including DFT guidance in your 20 miles per hour policy. Traffic authorities can introduce 20 miles per hour speed limits on major streets where there are or could be significant number of journeys on foot/cycle, and this outweighs the disadvantage of longer journey times on the motorist. In Malton and Norton, just one major northwest to southeast route, the B1257 Broughton Road, which turns into the B1248 Beverley Road, going through Butcher Corner, is responsible for half, that is 30, out of the 60 casualties in Malton and Norton urban area over the last 5 years. And that includes 1 fatality, 6 serious injuries, and 23 minor injuries. Many of them pedestrians, child cyclists, elderly residents. Most casualties are on this or other main routes through Malton and Norton, many of them at junctions. The decisions based on the current policy demonstrate that there is such extreme reluctance to bring in 20 miles per hour limits on main roads as to make it impossible. The policy in practice treats pedestrians and cyclists as second-class citizens in their own communities and takes a Victorian approach to danger, i.e. profit before safety. But doing nothing effective about road safety costs society more in the long run. Removing onerous conditions such as has occurred in Cornwall and elsewhere is essential in order to make any significant and lasting improvements in road safety. Hiding behind a restrictive interpretation of DFT guidance should fool no one. Will councillors select to instead agree to the Action Vision Zero target of 0 killed and seriously injured on our roads by 2030 in this committee, with an intermediate target of 50% reduction in killed and seriously injured by 2027? With the new Mayor for York and North Yorkshire holding significant power and funds on transport policy and direction, it is essential that North Yorkshire speak up on road safety and actually listen to the most vulnerable residents. 77 out of 99 residents who returned surveys in Malton backed the Town Council's position on making 20 miles per hour the normal speed limit for our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. You will have a supplementary question to you once you've heard from our officer, Alan Gay.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Good morning. The 20 mile an hour speed limit in zone policy that Mr. Conlon refers to is progressive and a significant step forward from its earlier iteration. The Council's executive approved changes in 2022, which have resulted in 37 20 mile an hour scheme applications having since been received, with 9 schemes approved from 12 that have been through the full review process, one of which being unprecedented in scale, covering the Panlash and Oland areas of Harrogate. This scheme does include Category 3A and 3B roads, which can be described as major streets. The policy revision and indeed the more recent report, approved by the Council's executive in July last year, will also result in the introduction of a planned programme of speed limit reviews across the urban and rural road network, including major streets, and is actually prioritising vulnerable road users referred to by Mr. Conlon. The 20 mile an hour speed limit in zone policy already makes reference to acting in accordance with the DFT Circular 01/2013, and the York and North Yorkshire Road Safety Partnership Safer Road Strategy refers to road safety partners, including North Yorkshire Council, working towards Vision Zero. A review speed surveys on the B1257 and 1248 through Malton and Norton show the speeds are already low, with ranges between 17 and 25 miles per hour within the town, the majority being at or just below 20 miles an hour, which suggests there is not a problem with speed compliance on these roads. We note the collision statistics referred to by Mr. Conlon, which are consistent with the data held by the Council. NYC undertakes annual and in-year analysis of collision data to identify the sites and routes with the poorest collision record in terms of number and severity. It is, though, essential to look at context and causation factors to identify any trends and patterns that can be mitigated through intervention. I will seek to assure Mr Conlon that there is no reluctance to introduce 20-mile-an-hour speed limits on main roads where it is considered suitable to do so, as evidenced by the proposed introduction of lower speed limits on major streets in Harrogate. There are many different criteria to consider through the assessment process, and the Council's policy is explicit in recognising the need to move away from solely using collision and speed data and recognising the benefits of lower speed limits that they can bring to communities. And modal shift is a key objective.
Thank you, Alan. Mr. Conlon, would you like to submit a question on that?
Yes, I would. That said, how do you explain your decisions, for instance, in Langton and Welburn, which are one main street, certainly in Langton, and there's not many other streets in Welburn either, and you turn both down, they both have schools. I think there is an inconsistency, and there is also an unwillingness to actually embrace the default 20, which is basically proving that it's safe at 30 to have high limits, and that is our campaign, and that is what Malton Town Council's position is. Thank you.
Alan, we're not to specifics there. It would be nice if you could give us an answer dealing with those specifics, but if you aren't able to at this time, could you please make sure that you get Mr. Conlon an answer, but then also a copy of all the committee members, and I'll leave it to you to decide what you can do now.
Absolutely, and that's a very good point, because I'm unable at this point in time to say what the position is regarding Langton as well there, so I don't have that detail to hand, but as the Chair pointed out, I'm more than happy, and I will come back to you with the responses to you. If that is the case, why did I bother turn down? What I would say though is that the circular Mr. Conlon refers to says that councils can introduce on main streets, and I think I've explained already that we are where we consider it appropriate to do so. Where we don't, then that's our proposal not to approve the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. And I think, to be honest, in terms of the unwillingness to introduce default 20-mile-an-hour schemes in North Yorkshire, I think that's been done. It's been through executive. The decision being called in. North Yorkshire doesn't do default 20-mile-an-hour schemes. What it does do is it takes a proactive approach with communities and it engages with them actively. And where there is support locally and where the council considers it to reduce 20-mile-an-hour schemes consistent with the policy, it absolutely does do that. What I would also add that is in terms of January 2022, when we introduced the revised 20-mile-an-hour scheme policy approach, there was a lot of criticism then that was going to kind of form additional barriers to the introduction of 20-mile-an-hour schemes in North Yorkshire. It's done the reverse, actually. It's been a significant increase in the number of requests that we've had through, and as a result of that, a significant increase in the number of schemes that have since been approved as well. So that doesn't hold water, I'm afraid. But North Yorkshire doesn't do default 20-mile-an-hour schemes. That's been through executive decision being made.
Thank you. So, make sure that gets around to everybody and say to Mr. Conlon, how do you appreciate it?
Absolutely.